2018, and I have just put in my last stitch into my Donna Glessinger Christmas ornament. So if you've been following my monthly updates, and if you've been following my vlogs as well, you'll have seen the final push for this. But I just wanted to show you kind of an evolution of me finishing it, washing it, and then getting it framed, because obviously that's the next step, because this was my biggest wish, was to get this framed and on the wall for Christmas, which I have absolutely achieved ahead of time. So I am absolutely delighted with this. So I just wanted to give you like a bit of an insight into the progress of this. So it's taken me less than a year to stitch. It's actually, because it's stitched on 18 count HAED, it worked out bigger than it would have done on a 25 count. So this has come out as a 12 by 12 ornament, which is a great size. Obviously stitched on 18 count HAED, a 2/1, which gives it some really nice coverage. I often like to do these, it's not really small, is it? But I guess not mini, but sort of story keep. So I've done a story keep and an ornament on this side fabric, and I just wanted it just to be that little bit bigger, just to have a bit more of a wow impact when it was on the wall and when it was framed. I just wanted it to stand out a little bit more. So I started this on the 27th of December last year, so it was just after Christmas, so the day after Boxing Day. I obviously started the progress with this, and I finished it today. So it's taken just under a year to stitch it fully, so 6 weeks, less than a year. I don't think that's bad in terms of the amount of detail that's within this particular piece. You know, I think it's pretty good. So all in all, in terms of time frame, it took me, this is where you kind of have to draw your breath, 321 hours and 52 minutes. So that's a lot of stitchy time. So I think in terms of the overall design, I love it. I think the reindeer is absolutely stunning. I think he's beautiful. I think the effect of the slate and the light, in all fairness, this was my most favourite area to stitch, was the light. It was the thing that stood out most to me on the pattern, and I think that's been captured beautifully in the stitch design when you compare it against the photo. So I think that's come out beautifully. The worst area, or the most detailed area on this to stitch, and it'll not be a surprise, was the toy sack. There is so much confetti within this to get the effect. I can't even begin to tell you how many different shades are within the doll's face. Obviously you don't get the depth of detail that you do on the picture, but I mean, I don't know how you could do it. It's quite obvious what things are. I mean, this is a drum, a doll, this is a trumpet here, you've got like just like a star. I think this must be like the bow for present. You've got streamers, you've got presents and bows around here. This is actually a truck with something in the back of it, so you can see a representation of headlights and the shape of a truck. I think when you sort of do a step back, things sort of become a little bit clearer. The quickest page to stitch was this one. I mean, I stitched that in pretty record time. The confetti within this was significantly less. There was more blocks of colours, although there is a reasonable amount of detail within it. And this section was, on the reindeer, was one of the more simple areas to stitch. So yeah, I mean, I just think it's outstanding. You can even see the cold air being breathed out of his nostrils as he's breathing. I just think this is gorgeous. There is some Krennic in here, so obviously we do have some Krennic shading just to give a few subtle highlights. I'm trying to find a section where there's a fair bit. Yeah, there's a bit around this area here. I'm not sure if it's been picked up on. No, probably not on camera, but there is subtle hints of Krennic. There is a little tiny bit in his chest around here, just for highlight purposes. And then obviously with the stars, just the odd Krennic stitch introduced into that as well, just to give it a little bit of something extra. But yeah, his eye looks stunning. Obviously when I was stitching it, you know, a few weeks ago, and not all the stitches were in that, he did look significantly evil. He looked like an evil reindeer, but obviously as everything comes together, I love the details of the bells on his harness. I love the detail of the harness on his face. I just think, I mean, you can tell by my level of enthusiasm having just finished this, it's stunning. So what I thought I'd do is just share a few pictures, like a little montage of the process of stitching him. I didn't take it off the Q-Snap or frames, I was just taking little update pictures for me as I stitched him, so I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to input a few pictures, and then obviously we'll come to the washing phase, and then I'll show you it when he's completely finished. So yeah, I mean, this is the start. It'll probably take over a week, maybe 2, for me to get to the end of this video. So I'll say bye for now, and I will catch up with you when we see the finished product. So take care, guys. Bye. Christmas Heaven and Earth is going to get its bath. So I'm just going to fill my bathroom sink with some lukewarm water, and then I'm going to use some Dawn washing up liquid. So this is not something that's common in the UK, but when I was originally researching all of, how to wash your pieces when you finish them, this is the brand that, or the name that always came up, or the brand rather that always came up. I think it's American. I ordered mine off Amazon. So this purely is kept for washing these pieces. So I wash my Simply Meant to Be in this with no issue whatsoever. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same. So I'm just going to fill my sink with some lukewarm water and add some of this, and then we'll put the Heaven and Earth in. There we go. So it's just got one small squirt of, oh my god, of washing up liquid in, and then I'm just going to sort of push it in, and I'm going to just leave that to soak for a few minutes, and then all I'm going to do is just come back and sort of agitate. I mean, this is, to be honest, it's all going to be covered up when I frame it, because I'm going to go for a square frame but with a circular mount for this, I think. So I'm just going to come back and just sort of slop it around a bit, but I'm going to leave it to soak for 5 minutes, and I'll just come back and agitate, around the edges, and just sort of gently, very gently pat the stitched area just to lift any dirt that might be in there. I mean, it's not filthy, I will say that, it's not filthy, because I do use my grime guards, but a year of handling and transportation and moving about, and obviously having
daisy, and the birds can lead to, you know, some dust, extra dust on it. So I'm going to leave it to soak for a wee while, and then I'll come back and agitate it, rinse it off, and then I'm just going to lay it on a towel on one of the spare beds. So I will catch you in a little while. So he's washed, he's all clean. So I've rinsed through a couple of times. He's been in the water for about, I'd say, half an hour soaking, and then I just came and agitated the white edges that were left, and then I've just rinsed it through a couple of times so there's no soap coming out. So I'm going to now just kind of wring it dry gently, and then I'm going to just lay it on the bed and just let it dry naturally for a day or so. It's Monday, so excuse me, I'm out at work all day tomorrow, so I'll not get this to the framers then, but it gives it, you know, a good 48 hours to dry. The plan is then I'll iron it over tomorrow evening and then see if I can catch the framer on Wednesday morning before I drive back to London. So that will be the plan for this. So the next, well, I'll go and get it on the bed and just show you it just sort of drying, and I guess I'll probably show you the ironing process as well so you can see what happens. But yeah, it's now, I think, clean enough. It's just laid on the bed now on a colour fast towel, so I'm going to leave it there overnight to see how it gets on. I've just pulled it gently. It's really tightened it all up now. You can see how it's, and it tends to do that, sort of shrink it down a little bit and pull everything really taut. If you wanted to at this point, you could block it. I never have blocked it, and by blocking I mean it gets pulled really tight and then you pin it to the towel. As I'm going to iron this, I don't mind. I've just stretched it sort of sideways and long ways and sort of pulled it into shape, but other than that I'm just going to leave it. This is exactly what I did with my Simply Meant to Be piece. I didn't block it, didn't try stretching it at this point. I just left it alone, and then when it's dry or almost at the point of being dry, I'll then iron it over with a towel over the top of it. And if I can show you that, I will do, but I protect both sides of it so it's not going to catch, it doesn't ever come into contact with the iron alone. So as I said, this is just going to get left now to air dry, and yeah, I'll come and see it probably in the morning. You take care. So the finished piece is already washed and ironed, so that took about 48 hours or so to dry fully, maybe a bit less than that, but I just laid it on a towel and just let it do its thing. So I've got my steam iron here on a cool setting, so I'll alter the angle of the camera and show you how I go about doing this. So the iron's now warm, so I'm going to flip this over. I like to do this on the reverse side, and then just place a clean towel over the top of the piece, and then I'm just going to take the iron, just a tiny bit of steam through it, and just press. You just may have to move the towel as you go. So the stitches on the finished piece are all nice and fluffed up, but the edges of the HAED are still a little bit crumpled. So I do then at that point just flip it back over, and I'll just take the iron and just iron on top of the fabric, keeping away from the stitches, and just put a bit of steam through that just to flatten it up a bit. I don't come into contact with the stitches at all. And there you go, a nicely pressed finished piece that's ready to go off to the framers. So I'm going to give him a call this morning and see if he's in, and take this along and choose a frame. Catch you soon. So there he is in all of his framed glory. So I've gone for a double mount on him. So I've picked out the really dark sort of Christmas green and the really dark burgundy. out of the colours in there. So obviously it's a Christmas piece, so I wanted it to, you know, I wanted to really pick out those Christmas colours, but it looks amazing. I mean, the girl who does the stretching has done a fabulous job with him. I mean, it looks awesome. Sorry, there's a bit of glare in that bottom right hand corner. I'm filming this in my kitchen because it's got the best natural light, but obviously it's pulling from those from the doors there. But yeah, I went with the non-reflective glass in this. I did this with my Simply Meant to Be as well, just because, well, you know, I've spent a year of my life stitching it. I'm gonna, you know, go as well as I can with it, and obviously when it's on the wall you'll really be able to see the picture. And then I've gone with a really thick, chunky, sort of bronzy gold wooden frame. Is it wood? Yeah, it is wood. Frame, just to really pick out the brown details in them as well. So I think all in all, that big, thick, chunky frame really does him a lot of justice. So yeah, I'm over the moon with how that's turned out. So I hope you enjoyed this journey from finish through to washing, ironing, preparing for framing, and then the final piece. I really enjoyed stitching this. He was lovely, and I miss him. I miss him on my cross stitch stand, I really do, but he's going to look amazing on my wall in the next week or so. Take care guys, thanks for watching.